The Northern California market has long been one of the hottest spots for the comics business. In the 9 San Francisco Bay Area counties alone, there are over 60 comic specialty stores and nearly 100 stores throughout Northern California. So the area has been ripe for a major gathering of fans and pros alike. The Wonderful World of Comics convention in 1987 was one of the largest first-time conventions in the country, drawing over 3,300 fans and pros. So we knew we had to follow that up with an even bigger and better show. Welcome to the Wonderful World of Comics 1988 Convention Review, a brief look at the first major event of the comics convention summer season and why you should make it a point to join us. One sure way to bring out the fans is to give them the chance to meet their favorite comics professionals, and the Wonderful World of Comics 1988 guest list was full of the people fans most want to see. Our guest of honor, Will Eisner, creator of the Spirit and one of the pioneers of the comics business, was tireless in his devotion to his fans and candid in his seminar appearances.
We must recognize that that is different, and if what it is you want to get from a story is a human experience, then sometimes you're not going to get it from someone who hasn't felt that human experience. Stan's quite right. I write out of the pit of my stomach. I invariably do. Even in the days of the Spirit, I was doing stories, supposedly adventure stories for the marketplace, but every one of those, very often many of those stories, came out of a gut feeling.
Over 50 fan favorites attended the Wonderful World in 1988, including Arthur Adams, Mark Grunwald, Matt Wagner, Larry Marder, Trina Robbins, Sergio Aragonis, and Stan Lee. Spider-Man, Silver Surfer, which are the ones that you look back to with the most affection?
Yeah, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I have the world's worst memory, always have. And I forget most of the things I've done, and every so often I'll go to a comic book store or a convention, and somebody will show me an old book I've done, and it could be Iron Man or Submariner or the Fantastic Four or Daredevil or any of them. And I'll read it and I'll say, gee, I didn't remember. Oh, that's right, I remember it now. And I'll read it just as though I'm somebody else reading it. I say, this is sensational. And at that moment, that becomes my favorite story and my favorite character. And I think I'm probably my biggest fan. I really love everything I've done.
In addition to the creative pros, dealers from all across the country came, as well over 1 million comics were for sale at the convention, from the hottest new books to the rarest of the rare. The Wonderful World of Comics has something for everyone. In addition to comics, we featured an extensive animation program featuring Japanese and American animation. Plus, we had guest appearances from the actors in Star Trek. And our convention boasts one of the most beautiful souvenir programs of any convention in the country. This was produced by the people who do the Japanese animation magazine called Animag. The Wonderful World of Comics also featured one of the most intensive advertising and promotion campaigns in comics convention history. The media consisted of fan advertising in the Comics Buyer's Guide, the weekly newspaper of the comics industry. In addition to that, we bought television time on 6 different TV stations, blanketing the markets of San Francisco, Santa Rosa, San Jose, and Sacramento. Plus, we also bought radio time on KRQR, the rocker in San Francisco. In addition to that, we featured promotions on KZAP in Sacramento and KRQR in San Francisco, as well as KFTY Channel 50 in Santa Rosa. And the media turned out for the convention as well, with feature articles in several of Northern California's largest newspapers, including the Oakland Tribune, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, plus a feature on our American animation program, which was in the Sunday datebook section of the San Francisco Examiner and Chronicle, which is the most prestigious entertainment weekly in Northern California. Plus, we received coverage on radio and TV. Here are just a few of the TV features that were done at the Wonderful World of Comics in 1988.
The San Jose News Channel. Doug Moore and Maggie Skura. Bill Henley's weather and sports with Bob Stefanich. Now, live, the most comprehensive local news coverage of San Jose and the Santa Clara Valley.
Well, they cost a lot more than 10 cents nowadays, but they still represent the cutting edge of popular culture. Comic books, all kinds of comic books, from Batman to the adventures of Archie and Jughead, are on display in Oakland this weekend. And as Rob Flattabo reports tonight, as conventions go, this one is sure to provide some comic relief.
Oakland was never safer. The Man of Steel, Captain Marvel, Flash Gordon, more superheroes than you can recall are in town, and the name of the game is buy, sell, and swap.
And Wolverine is getting his own series starting in July.
He is?
Yes.
Not just for kids anymore. Most comic books are now sold to grown-ups. A Marvel Comics first edition 10-cent pulp can run you as much as 20 grand.
It's probably the best one for sale in the United States right now.
And it's like any other collectible, you know. A lot of people have more disposable income now.
And last year, readers disposed of $300 million. Unlike baseball players, or even movie stars, the Incredible Hulk, Batman, Superman, and other comic book characters never grow old. But they have changed some. Like soap operas, just enough to keep them entertaining.
They are exciting stories, they are adventures, they often have important messages, or at least interesting messages. Our main objective is to entertain. If we can educate at the same time, great.
Always good for a few laughs, today's selection is truly fantastic. A gang of mutants, for example, known as the X-Men, now tops the heap, but good versus evil remains the predominant theme.
Batman. I love the mechs.
Justice League.
Spider-Man.
I read millions of them.
Whatever happens to be open at the time, I guess, huh? Yeah.
Comic book characters never grow old. Evergreen heroes whose stories were told.
In Oakland, Rob Flattabo for KNTV, the San Jose News Channel.
I could have retired 10 years ago if I'd have kept all the comics I had as a kid.
You like comics, don't you?
Oh, sure.
I see you read them all the
time.
I know. One of the largest comic book conventions in the world is going on right now in Oakland. It's called The Wonderful World of Comics, and it's not just for kids. As a matter of fact, almost 3/4 of all comic book readers are adults, and they spend over $300 million a year buying comic books. Some rare Marvel comics fetch prices as high as $12,000 a piece. Well, the head editor for Marvel says that sometimes he discovers new artists at the conventions.
Hundreds of them show up at every convention, you know, hoping that this will be their big chance. And sometimes it works out. At this particular convention, we discovered an artist last year who's now doing regular work for us. So that's why I go, because I can always use more artists and more writers.
The convention will continue through Sunday night at the downtown Oakland Convention Center. Tomorrow, Channel 7 News will profile 2 local comic artists who have really done quite well.
One of the largest comic book conventions in the world is going on this weekend in Oakland. DeShadow knows comic books are no longer just kid stuff, so he slipped into what's billed as the wonderful world of comics for a closer look.
Comics everywhere, and comic producers, editors, writers, artists, and collectors all coming together here. Comics are no laughing matter. Readers, mostly adults, spend over $300 million a year buying comic books. The Bay Area produces its share of comic books and comic book makers, such as the man responsible for Miami Mice, Mark Bodie of Berkeley. The comic blood runs in the family. Mark's dad did Cheech Wizard for National Lampoon. Miami Mice is, of course, a satire on the TV show. Mark did it for fun, and it ended up selling over 180,000 copies.
The mice drive around in a Maserati, and they're after the rat junkies that are pushing hard cheese like Parmesan cheese and, you know, the hard stuff.
Another local comic character is Will Jacobs. He's responsible for The Trouble with Girls, sold nationwide and in England.
It's basically just a way to parody a lot of things, satirize a lot of things, the adventure genre, all the movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark. We want to get everything in one basket, and with that, that's what the basic premise of the comic is to lampoon our entire culture, basically, and our obsession with success, primarily.
I notice your books are in black and white. Is there any particular reason for that, or is it just cheaper to do it that way?
It's just cheaper to do it, basically. Yeah. No aesthetic concern behind that.
So if I colorize them, you won't get too upset?
No, not too upset. You can do whatever you want with them, as long as you buy them.
Actually, there's a chance a local film producer will buy it and bring The Trouble with Girls to the screen. That's it from the land where, this weekend, comics are king. The Shadow knows.
And you still have a chance to go. The Wonderful World of Comics continues through tomorrow at the Oakland Convention Center in downtown Oakland. So if you like comics, you know where to go.
Once upon a time, comic books were strictly for kids, but now this $300 million a year business attracts a mainly adult audience. And this weekend, comic book creators and consumers are gathering in Oakland for one of the biggest comics conventions in the world. Will Jacobs used to work in a comic book store, but now the dealers sell his creations. Now, Jacobs' satirical monthly, The Trouble with Girls, is a hot seller in the U.S. and abroad.
It's basically just a way to parody a lot of things, satirize a lot of things, the adventure genre, all the movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark. We want to get everything in one basket, and with that, that's what the basic premise of the comic is to lampoon our entire culture, basically, and our obsession with success, primarily.
Jacobs is getting so successful that he may have to satirize himself. It's looking like The Trouble with Women may soon become a feature film. The convention continues through tomorrow in Oakland.
The long and the short of it is that the Wonderful World of Comics was attended by over 4,200 people, a total increase over 1987 of almost 25%, making the Wonderful World of Comics one of the 4 biggest annual comics conventions in the country and the first major convention of the summer season. Whether you're a fan or a pro, make it a point to be a part of the Wonderful World of Comics, April 28th, 29th, and 30th, 1989 at the Oakland Convention Center. It'll be the best one yet.